Hi, my name's Eric Wilson. I love dancing and long walks on the beach. I enjoy cuddling up with an algorithm and sorting through data with a cozy firewall. I like sitting in long business meetings discussing strategy and forecasting and understanding value. Some reason I haven't found Mrs. Right. Let's get to it. Welcome. This is still IBF On Demand. I'm your repeat, passionate, and still priceless host, Eric Wilson. You can find me at eric@ibf.org. That's eric@ibf.org. Thank you for coming back. Welcome back to 2022. If it's your first one this year, or welcome back if you saw me a couple weeks ago and tuning back in for part 2. We have a sponsor, Arkiva, your one-plan S&OP software solution. As I said, previously, we talked about cost of S&OP. We talked about exactly what are those costs of S&OP. And hopefully, everyone who watched that tuned back in for this one, where we're going to talk about the benefits and the value. Remember I said return is going to be our investment over our value. We're going to try to figure out what the return is of S&OP, IBP, BEP. And to do that, we have to talk about the investment. Go back 2 weeks. Check out our last episode, first one of 2022. And today we're going to talk about the value side then as well. First of all, I want to talk a little bit, level set everybody about what exactly the definition is that we're talking about with S&OP, IBP. It's a structured business process that aligns all functional areas under a unified set of assumptions to enable coordinated decision making. It's a business process. So I'm not buying a piece of software and saying, I now have S&OP. I'm not balancing supply and demand and now saying I have S&OP. It's a business process. We're going to bring in all functional areas. We're going to drive to a unified set of assumptions, a one number attitude in an organization. And really the purpose of it is to make business decisions based on our strategy, connected to our tactical execution. That is S&OP. Secondly, I just want to clarify, I really don't care what we call it. I say S&OP, IBP, B, and I throw all these acronyms type situation. Most time you're going to hear me say S&OP. And when we're talking about value, I wanted to kind of clarify this. It really doesn't matter what you call it either. I got news for you. If a consultant comes in and says, okay, you're S&OP, you need to do IBP now, or you need to do this type situation, a lot of that's consultant speak. I'm going to be honest with you. Looking at research, looking at the benefits organizations get and what they call it. So looking at the benefits organizations have based on S&OP, benefits organizations have based on IBP, etc., whatever they call it internally in the organization, there was zero correlation between what you call it and the benefits you get. The benefits come from what you do, what you are doing. That's where the benefits come. So I don't want to get hung up on the acronym. You're going to hear me refer to it as lots of S&OP. I don't want you to get tricked by someone coming in with a new acronym and saying it better. You need to actually figure out what you're doing to find these improvements. And when you line and develop a decision-making process, a business process, lines all functional areas, a unified set of assumptions, when you start doing those things, that's when you start seeing real value with your S&OP, IBP, George, whatever we want to call it, process. I said, a lot of this is coming, real quick, understand, I said research. I'm going to be throwing out numbers as far as what you can expect as benefits. I'm going to clarify where those numbers came from, why I'm saying that it really doesn't matter what you call it. I'm going to put some something behind those statements and the statements that's getting ready to come. And I mentioned this in the last podcast, and I'll mention it again as a disclaimer or just so you have more confidence listening here. When we're talking about the research IBF does a lot of research. And we did a lot of research, especially in the S&OP, IBP, over the last couple years to better understand what exactly best-in-class companies have in common. What are they doing? How do they get there? And so we did a lot of research. We are a membership organization. IBF is a membership organization, 50,000 people worldwide, practitioner built. We're built on the backs and shoulders of practitioners who do this day in and day out. And we take that research of what works, what isn't working, and be able to share that with the broader community. We're about fostering the growth in demand planning, business forecasting, S&OP, IBP, predictive analytics, related fields. We're about fostering the growth. And the way we do that as a membership organization is through our vast body knowledge of content, podcasts, blogs, journal of business forecasting, webinars, conferences. We also do that through our research then as well. Back to the research that went into this, then S&OP, IBP research, there was multiple companies that we've researched, personally went into, did analysis with to understand exactly what the true benefits we can link to a business process were, what true cost were. Last couple weeks ago, we identified the average cost of a startup of an S&OP or ongoing type of S&OP process. We mentioned those. This week, we're going to then talk about what we could identify as the average value, the benefits of an S&OP process as well. So this isn't just consulting speak. Yes, IBF does consulting. So if you want us to come in and do a full analysis of your S&OP process, we will do that from a unbiased third-party perspective. Come in, be able to look exactly what your strengths, what your benefits are, benchmark you against your other organizations to understand exactly where you are and what you want to work on. IBF actually does that from a membership standpoint. Go to ibf.org, check out the advisory services. We can actually do that. But a lot of the information then will go back and feed into these types of podcasts, this type of research to allow you to understand exactly what the benefits are of S&OP. And we can ultimately, by the end of this podcast, start talking about our return, our investment of doing an S&OP process. I said, so we already got the investments out of the way. Now we're going to focus on the benefit side of it. What are the values of it? We're going to understand, because if we're going to put in effort, why are we putting forth the effort? We're putting forth an effort because we're getting something out of it. We're going to have, return is going to be our investment over the value. We got to understand that value side to understand how much investment we need to put in and how much investment it's worth putting in. We're going to need to understand, because other people are going to be involved. For them to be more engaged, for them to be part of the process, they're going to have to understand the vision, the value of this as well. So it helps other people being engaged. I said we could also, there's major advantages. IBF looks at organizations from emerging to really a next level to really a Vanguard type of process to really getting from that next level to a Vanguard type of process in S&OP. There are big advantages to it. There are dollars there. So understanding what exactly dollars you have and understanding what dollars are capable, it's important to help bridge that gap, once again, to understand what you may need to focus on, what you may need to do. And the last thing we want to talk about then is executives. If we're selling a new project to it, if you're responsible inside your organization of really trying to develop an S&OP process, or you want an S&OP process, selling it to executives is important. Executives want to know what's in it for me. And what in it for me is not another meeting. That's not a selling point to a lot of executives. We want you just to be in another meeting. No, a good selling point is real dollars, return on my investment, something that's going to make them money. That's what executives want to hear, and we're going to help you put together that. But the only way to get there is to really understand some of those benefits. Spoiler alert, okay? part two of our what the S&OP is worth. I'm going to jump right to the end here. A next level maturity. Remember I said where it goes from emerging to essential. Essential is a level 2 to a next level, level 3, to a Vanguard, which is the top level S&OP process. If you're in a level 3 or 4, a next level or a Vanguard, so you're in the top 50% of organizations. You're above average when it comes to an S&OP process. Those organizations can see on average about a 2.4% improvement to the bottom line. Do the math. Look at your balance sheet. Look at your P&L statement. Look at where you are. Look at that bottom line. Improve that by almost 2.5%. That's the benefit you can get from a third or fourth level type of S&OP process. There are real dollars out there. I mentioned that the advantages of being that Vanguard S&OP process. So there's real dollars out there. There was another study, actually McKinsey did a study and looked at decision-making process will beat an analysis 6-1. You'll get 6 times the benefits by focusing on a decision-making process than doing the analysis independently. Consensus, collaboration, transparency, there is real big benefits there. And that's what S&OP process is. It's an S&OP is a business process, aligning all functional area, unified set of assumption, coordinated decision making. It is that decision making process, and it will beat out of an analysis 6-1 according to studies as well. So there is true benefits there. Where do those benefits lie? How do we get those benefits? We're anywhere from the top line. If you go back, look at my pyramid. I love these pyramids. Brahm has a pyramid of cash, cost, service type of pyramid. At the top of the pyramid, we're looking at the revenue side of it. We're looking at about a 0.5% top line growth, anywhere from a half to a full 1% top line growth. You're going to see revenue increase. We're going to be able to see the cost side of it, operating improvements, 1.82% operating improvements. We're going to see inventory, the cash side of things is improve as well. 10% improvement on inventory. There's an 8% or greater improvement on forecast accuracy, depending on where you are right now and where your focus is in your organization. But you can see an 8% or a much higher improvement on forecast accuracy. I've seen that as high as 20% in some organizations. It improves on time in full. It improves inventory turns. It improves efficiencies overall. Those are real dollars, real money that equal up that 2.4% to the bottom line in organizations that are at that next level or above in an S&OP. We also have what they call the soft skills. I don't want to call them soft benefits, Lori, but there is a lot of other tangible benefits that you get that help enable those real dollars. It is a decision-making forum. It helps if done well. So you are making business decisions. It's bringing the right people to the table to have the right discussions. It's a decision-making that occurs in an S&OP process. You have more engagement. People feel more involved in the business process if they're contributing to the business decisions, if they understand what's going on. People feel more engaged. A more engaged employee is a more productive employee that lasts longer, that works harder. So you have more engaged employees. They understand what the vision of why we're accomplishing things as well. It works on collaboration, and collaboration equals real money for an organization. It builds consensus. So you're working off of the same plans. It eliminates a lot of bias. It helps improve a lot of plans. It allows for more accountability. All the benefits that come from a consensus as well, you get from this process as well. It adds transparency. You have visibility. You have people coming and explaining what they know, what they don't know, and they're bringing those to the table so people can react better than as well. And with that visibility, that alone becomes that low-hanging fruit for some organizations. Just seeing what another organization, another function's doing, or understanding what another function's looking for helps you deliver that to them better internally. And you can find just some easy, low-hanging fruit changes just by talking just by getting together and talking. You can usually, in some organizations, you can find benefits just there. That's that collaboration, that consensus, that transparency. Those were the key. We actually, back to the IBF research, through COVID, we found with some of the biggest benefits of organizations that had good collaboration, consensus, and transparency were the ones that were able to harbor the storm of COVID the best, be able to get through it the best, because they were understood what was going on. They communicated what they knew and what they didn't know, and they worked together, and they all operated off the same plan. That was some of the biggest lessons learned through COVID. That's some of the biggest lessons that you need to be able to implement inside of an S&OP process, and some of the biggest benefits then as well. So then, breaking down the benefits the same way we did the cost, I want to talk about a few of the most common return, benefits, value that companies are getting. These are averages. Mind you, averages may be my head in the freezer, my feet in the oven on the perfect temperature in the middle. But at the same time, these averages can then apply to your individual organization. Companies we researched were anywhere from about 300 million to about 3 billion. Wide range of organizations. Apply to your organizations, but you can still see some of these averages applied inside your organization as well with a mature S&OP process. We know the cost. Those we understood. On average, check out the previous episode 2 weeks ago, $300,000 to $700,000 are going to be my cost, first year cost. After that, I'm looking at about 1% of my revenue is going to be my operating cost, and that includes some improvement costs. Ongoing training was in there as well. Now we're going to look at the value side of it. On average, an organization at about 500 million. An organization about 500 million, after 3 years, the annualized return on my investment of that $300,000 to $700,000. $500 million company, I've spent $300,000 to $700,000 the first year. Ongoing 1% operating expenditures. After about 3 years, my annualized return on my investment is about 63% for a return multiple of 7. Now, hopefully there's some finance people out there that I just got your attention, because there is very, very few business process improvements that can provide this kind of return or align all functional areas around a unified set of assumptions to help make coordinated business decisions and actually make us this type of money. So how did we get there? Breaking down the benefits, what we're looking at on average, once again, is first your operating cost. As far as improvements to operating costs, a lot of these are supply chain focuses. I get that, anywhere from about 1.5% to 2%. So looking at your total supply chain cost, what you're looking at SG&A, those type of costs, 1.5% to 2% improvement on operating cost. Top line growth, revenue, top line growth, anywhere from a 0.5% to a full 1% top line growth. That's the average. Inventory improvements. What you're going to see in inventory improvements is more the right sizing, depending on your strategy, but anywhere from about a 10 to 14% improvement on inventory. A reduction of inventory turns of about 12 to 14%. That is freeing up cash. Forecast accuracy, I said about an 8 to anywhere from about a 20-25% improvement on forecast accuracy is what you're going to see. And then all the benefits that come from a forecast improvement of being able to see sooner, being improved. Those are what you're seeing as your value. So how do we calculate that into an actual ROI? First of all, go back, understand your costs. Check that podcast from 2 weeks ago. Know your cost. Know when the costs are going to occur as well. Next, look at your benefits. I just went through what some of the benefits typically a next level or above S&OP process will see. Understand what benefits you could expect, what those averages mean in your real life world, but then also understand when those benefits could occur as well. And I mention that because I wouldn't put those benefits into day one, week one of my S&OP implementation. Because a lot of times we don't see those kick in until a few months after. You're going to have a pilot process. You're going to have typically a few cycles you have to get into before you start seeing benefits actually occur. So all those benefits I just talked about, I just laid out as far as improvement cost, revenue growth, inventory, forecast, you won't see on day one. On average, typically, once again, you see it about 4 to 6 months after kickoff is what you're seeing. The reason being is because what the data indicates is that you start seeing results after about 3 monthly S&OP cycles is typically when you see the results. And typically, you're going to take 2 to 3 months in design process before you actually start your first S&OP cycle. So if you looked at 2 months for design work, training, getting people up to speed, kicking it off, then having 3 cycles, you're already looking 5 months in before you start seeing any type of return and payback. Typically, once again, you are seeing your investment doesn't kick even then as 100%. You're going to start seeing slowly phasing in of benefits then over time. One of the places this is most typical is inventory. I cringe when I see people, I want to reduce my inventory. We're doing S&OP. I want to see inventory reductions day one. No, you don't get that. Because what happens is the inventory you need, you can get in a lot quicker than the inventory you didn't need, than selling it off. It takes a lot longer. Balancing inventory a lot of times takes time. And even sometimes you may see your inventory increase before you ultimately see that 10% reduction or right sizing of your inventory occur. So it takes time. You want to phase in those benefits we talked about over time. It generally, typically, you're looking at about year 2, end of year 2, year 3, before you start seeing really the benefits. It takes about 18 months before you really start seeing the full 100% benefits a lot of times. So if you're looking at 4 to 6 months phasing in, another 18 months, typically it's going to take you 2 years before you start seeing 100% of those benefits we talked about. You're going to see it at 1.5% or so on the cost. You're going to see 0.5% or more on the revenue growth. You're going to see inventory reduction. Factor that in at inventory carrying cost. Those are dollars you can factor in as well. All those become the value, phasing them in a time. So putting this all together, how do we want to look at this? How do we calculate the ROI? I want to give you a chart. All right, there's your chart. This is even, I think, being conservative. What we're looking at is only realizing about 5 to 10% of the benefits after you go live. So you can see your benefits really don't kick in until Q3 of year 1 of your implementation. Then you're only seeing 5% of your business benefits on top, 10% in Q4, 20% Q2 next year. Even after 2 years, we're only realizing 80% of our total benefits. That's that top, you can see the benefit ramp up. This is based on a $500 million company. These are what results we actually saw in organizations on averages calculated out. And as you can see, it's about a $500,000 investment year 1 is what you're seeing. So you get about a $500,000 investment year 1. You can see the benefits start to kick in at that Q3 at about Q2. Typically at about the 15-month rate is when you start seeing your break-even point. Typically that is what we see. So what you can see is the cumulative benefits, though, as they build up, looking at the net cumulative savings, that 2.4% to the bottom line, compounding and growing, you can start seeing some real benefits. That multiple of 7 are for your ROI is what you're seeing. You're seeing close to $4 million cumulative net savings over 2 years on an initial investment of about $500,000. So this is what we're seeing, these benefits. These are real benefits. Calculating your ROI, understand your investment, understand these values, Typically, you can see your ROI in about 15 months is when you can see a real ROI for a S&OP startup. Can it be done sooner? Absolutely. Yes, we can do it cheaper. We can push it. We can get things done sooner. I caution you though, because our results are based on mature organizations. I mentioned that next level Vanguard. The way we look at IBF is you have a emerging, essential, next level Vanguard. That next level Vanguard, that's that top 50%. When you're looking at that same research we did quite a few years ago, there was a research that Dr. Jane did on the benefits of S&OP, and it turned a lot of heads, made a lot of publicity because of what we found in it. And what we found in that is when you're looking at all organizations combined, which is going to include half the organizations that are essential or emerging. When you look at all organizations combined, you didn't see any tangible results with S&OP IBP. So the benefits really don't kick in until you start seeing that next level Vanguard type of organization. So if you putting in half the investment into it, you may get none of the return back on it. Or if you shortcut things, try to do things too quick, you may not see all your investment come back to it. So it's equally important to understand your cost, equally important to understand what your potential is, but one of the biggest things probably is understanding where you are. Understand what you might be missing out on. I can actually help with that as well. IBF has a maturity model built on exactly what these best practices are based on what organizations are doing. It's a free, can't beat the price, a free tool. Go to ibf.org, look at the maturity model, the assessment under advisory service or the assessment you can do. It's an absolutely free. You can see exactly where you are. Are you at next level? Are you at Vanguard, or are you at the essentials? Do you have the fundamentals to build upon, but you're not quite there yet? Because understand, there's a lot of organizations that are in that essentials that are stalled, are just having meetings, are just balancing supply and demand. You're going into, and in your gut, you feel you're not getting everything out of this. You're probably right. You're not getting the value out of that. Seeing where you are is an important step in this. It's a free tool. Go to ibf.org, do the free assessment. If you want us to come in and do a more comprehensive assessment, we can do that as well. Can measure you exactly where you are in your industry, measure you are to where the benchmarks are, understand where the gaps are, understand what your potential is, and help provide that roadmap of where to get it. We can do that for you as well. But it's important to understand exactly where those gaps are so you can start seeing the full potential of your investment. Because when it's there, there's real dollars and there's real ROI, return on your investment, from an investment in this process. But you have to understand really where you are. So I highly encourage you, check out that benchmarking at ibf.org. Reach out to me, Eric at ibf.org. We can come in and do a benchmarking assessment at your organization. They're more comprehensive if you'd like as well, to truly find the value, because there is true dollars there to go through this exercise and have that available for you. Well, hopefully this helps you understand a little bit of the value that's potential. We talked about a lot of numbers. If you have any questions about that, I said, reach out to me. Questions are free. Eric at ibf.org, Eric at ibf.org. Happy to talk about those things. Check out that maturity model. It's a free maturity model online, or so we can do more of a comprehensive one in person for you, whichever one's going to fit your needs. But just the free one's going to see exactly where you are and see exactly if you're getting those benefits are. And that will give you some research backed it up to be able to understand exactly some of the things you may want to start working on immediately. So once again, my name is Eric Wilson. This is IBF On Demand. Check me out at Eric at ibf.org, Eric at ibf.org. We do have a sponsor, Arkiva, your one-plan S&OP software solution. We have a lot of upcoming events. Hopefully you be able to register for the Scottsdale coming up this week, next week, S&OP Scottsdale. We got a lot of other events coming up as well. We got another, I did a call for speakers for a predictive analytics conference coming up in April. Check that one out. I got a conference coming up in Chicago, another boot camp. We actually have an S&OP conference, a best of kind of conference in S&OP with a lot of different practitioners speaking in June. Check that one out. You can find out all this at ibf.org/events. Check out the complete events page, all the events coming up in 2022. Or, of course, you can come back to these podcasts, follow me, and I'll keep you informed of everything that's happening this year. Hopefully, I can get out of my bunker finally this year and actually start meeting people face-to-face. I can see you at a conference. If I don't see you, make sure you reach out and let me know you're following as well. Look forward to 2022, an exciting year. And remember, when you're looking for an ROI of any activity, something that takes very little effort and has a huge value, wash your hands.